Honk.
What is up, Cobra Kai Nation? Welcome back to another video. I am really excited to bring back Matt Lewis, who played Ron from the All Valley Board Committee. It's a pleasure to have you back on, Matt, and we have so much to discuss about season 4.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks. Always a joy.
For sure, man. So it was awesome to see you back. I mean, obviously, we saw you in season 3. They were teasing the tournament towards the end of season 3, and obviously, we know how important it is for this Miyagi Fang team up to go against Cobra Kai and do all of that. But obviously, as it turns out, Cobra Kai win, and loads of crazy shit happens during the tournament. How did it feel being back for season 4?
It was great. And I remember when we were in as the whole committee. I mean, it was a joy and a great surprise to be able to come back for season 3. But I remember when we were wrapping the finale of season 1. We were there for the whole tournament as the committee, and the big 3 all came up to us when we were done and thanked us for our work. And I remember John Hurwitz. I mean, they were all standing there, but I remember Hurwitz specifically said, Mr. Hurwitz, that is, that we had just wrapped season 1, so no one had seen it yet. We didn't, of course, didn't know if the show was going to take off, but we all had a good feeling about it because we knew how good it was. Right. We were just waiting to show it to the rest of the world. But John had said that, hey, moving forward, there's not going to be a tournament every season. Like, we're not going to blow up the Death Star every year. But next time there is a tournament, you guys are the tournament committee. And, if and when there's a tournament, you will be back for it. You are now part of the Karate Kid universe. Congratulations. Oh, that's amazing. How cool. And, then here we are, like 5 some years later, back for the second tournament because, in 4 seasons, it's only been 1 year of Cobra Kai Land. So, we were hoping, especially when we learned that there was no tournament in season 3, we were like, okay, surely, season 4, or hopefully season 4 will bring us back. So when we found out that was actually happening, of course, it was awesome. And all of us, Keith, Kara Ann, Kurt, and now Brian, the new guy, Gavin, we have all kept in close touch over the years. We're all good friends. We text each other. We hang out when we can. So when we knew that we were coming back in a professional capacity, we got to be these characters together again. We were all just really excited, and we're just such a good ensemble, and we work together really well, especially now that, we've got all this water under the bridge and history. So yeah, coming back for season 4 for the tournament was just amazing. It was awesome. It was something that we were all hoping for, and I'm really glad that it happened. It was really cool.
Right. It was electrifying. As I was saying just before we started, it's the craziest tournament. I really liked how they went about it. I mean, of course, there was nothing wrong with the tournament previously. I mean, it was great as it was, but just to see these changes in the way they went about it was really nice because it shows the growth through that as well. We got a little awesome clip at the start of one of the episodes when you guys are obviously changing the rules and all these things. How did you feel when you first read the script and realized there's going to be big changes to the All Valley?
Well, that was exciting. And it was cool to know that the committee was going to be so involved in this, in these changes and in, revolutionizing the tournament, as it were. But it was also, I think mainly exciting because we knew that we were getting the cold open for an episode. Like, that's kind of an honor, that is an honor. Like, that's a big deal. And that's, a testament to how the big 3 feel about the committee and how they feel like the fans feel about the committee. Like, if everyone's invested in spending a whole 90 seconds with just us, like, that's pretty awesome, especially for starting off the episode. So that was super fun and super cool. And when we were shooting it, that took most of the day. And there was we got to play a lot. There was some improvisation and stuff that made it into that, and there was a lot that didn't, but we just had a good time and played around and went for it and argued with each other, and it was just a blast. We're all friends in real life, so as characters we can give each other the business and have fun doing it. It was great. It was really cool.
Yeah, like you guys have this like natural chemistry. You just see it through the scenes, and I just love the fact, like, obviously you all make these decisions together, and I do like when you do come to a decision. Everybody's raising their hand, and Kurt's character's kind of like, oh, I like the traditional ways. I kind of like it was very realistic, and expanding the tournament was probably like I said, it was it's evolving the tournament. It's kind of like your character Ron said when he announced it, a new era. It pretty much is the start of something new, and it feels very different from what we've previously seen. When you how do you think the committee feels about the changes to the tournament when it was from season 1 to season 4? Do you think they appreciate like the growth that the tournament's having now? Because obviously it was kind of the same for so long.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that everyone else gets annoyed with Ron, but every once in a while, and he screws up a lot. Obviously, I mean, I love that that's a running joke. Like, you screwed up the contracts with the parking deck and Malcolm Jamal Warner or whatever that was. All these other things.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, he's right and comes through with the big idea. And in this case, like, having celebrity guest stars to like make the tournament more exciting. I mean, obviously, that'll put butts in seats moving forward. Like, who's going to be the surprise guest next time? Will it be a whole band? This time it was just one person. Like, who knows? And also, I love the fact that the new guy, Gavin, like calls us out, because even when I read the script, I was like, oh yeah, boys shouldn't be hitting and kicking girls. Like, that's not happening. But like, when we all read the script, that was sort of like an honest reaction. Like, oh yeah, boys should not be kicking Aisha in the face. Like, we should have a girls division. That makes more sense,
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. And there was, oh gosh, I wish I could remember some of the stuff on the board because it was so funny. But there was like a laundry list of things that we could do to revolutionize the tournament, and someone from set decoration or the art department or something wrote down this list on a whiteboard that was behind me, and everything on the list was just like absolutely stupid, really dumb ideas. Like, I don't know, concessions should sell crab legs. Small Warner, just this ridiculous list, and you can't see it. It didn't make it into the shot, but it was. I was taking a picture of it or something. It was so funny. It was good stuff.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like when Johnny was trying to find methods to help Miguel's recovery, and he had this list. That kind of sounds like the same thing. It's a shame we didn't get to see that list. Yeah, it kind of gives more personality to the board as well, and just kind of like the extremes they're going to try and go about these changes. I like the fact that Ron came in the clutch though. Like you said, he sometimes messes up, but then he bought this guest. The whole board were like, wow, like you bought Carrie Underwood. I mean, did you know that? I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just in the script, but did you know that Carrie was going to be the guest, or was it kind of like a moment where you would find out kind of on the day?
It was a surprise. I didn't find out on the day, but I didn't find out until I was on set, and so I think I only knew maybe like a day or two before. Right. And I honestly don't. It was one of the big three, and I honestly don't remember who told me. But because they're all friendly and they're all nice, and they all I get to talk to them all the time, which is just so awesome and rare. That you've got producers that want to like hang out with you in between takes. Like, that doesn't happen, not to me. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I smell bad or something. I don't know, but. But at some point in time, somebody came up, because in the script it was Tammy Overton, and so I initially assumed like, oh, okay, well, this is supposed to be a pop star, but they're going to have an actor come in and play a pop star, and her name is Tammy Overton. Okay, like I don't know, Taylor Swift or Carrie Underwood or whoever, But then, like a couple of days before, when we were on set, somebody was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's actually Carrie Underwood on the day. We got her to come." And that came about because she had really gotten into the show in season 3, and she got on Twitter and she started tweeting about how much she loved Cobra Kai. And so I think pretty shortly thereafter, they reached out to her and they're like, hey, if you want to be on the show, like we've got an angle. And, you know, she does the Sunday Night Football NFL intro song. And so I think just in terms of wanting to like raise the stakes of the tournament and bring more global attention to the Valley and karate in the Valley, you know, Ron the dentist was able to work his magic with the score to show up for this, you know, high school kids karate tournament, which I just think is so funny and great.
Yeah, like this tournament didn't feel like a karate tournament at first. Like it really felt like an event, like an experience. Like you got someone coming in to sing, you know, it felt so much more than just you know, just a standard karate tournament. People were fighting, qualifying, and then you got the trophy. It really felt interesting in that way, and I quite like how they went about that with, you know, having someone kind of introduce it with like a guest, you know, celebrity guest. And as Ron, as I said, he came in the clutch. It was really cool to see that. And obviously with filming season 4, I'm assuming it would have been a little bit different based on the pandemic. And how did you feel it felt to film during that kind of circumstance?
I have to say it was weird at first. And really it was just sort of me personally responding to the situation because, you know, my family has always taken COVID really seriously. My wife and my son both have really bad asthma. And so, you know, right at the start, we kind of locked down just as soon as we started hearing that we did. And our kids stayed virtual like for a year and a half. They're both back in person now. But, you know, we locked down and took it really seriously. And we were especially like prior to, I mean, there was a period of time where like we couldn't find hand sanitizer or Lysol or masks and there was no vaccine. So we were just sort of like all swinging in the breeze. At least over here in the States we were, but I think it was kind of the same thing everywhere.
Yeah.
So we were locked down for a long time. And coming back for season 4 was my first on-set experience in this new COVID protocol world.
Right.
So showing up and just being around like 300 flipping people for the first time in a year and a half was kind of jarring and kind of weird. And like being that close to that many people. The set was really safe. We did a ton of testing. So like, you know, there was a really slim chance that if you were, you know, going to be infected and spreading COVID, that you would actually even be able to get on set just because of the testing. We were doing it like at least 3 times a week. And that's a union standard. Everyone's wearing masks and all that stuff. But, you know, I have to say, like, I think it was nice that our first time back, I was working with the board members and like people that I knew and trusted. I knew we were sort of all on the same page as far as like taking COVID seriously and trying to keep ourselves and each other safe. And, you know, you don't want to be the guy that like gives Ralph Macchio COVID and shuts down production for a month. Like that would be terrible, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I have to say, like, it was kind of strange. Like, because when you're that close to another actor, and especially like when Daryl and I are arguing and stuff, we're sort of spitting and breathing in each other's faces. So one of us has it. We both have it right now. So let's, we'll just hope for the best. But we were all okay. And, you know, I've worked on other sets and COVID situations since then. It's sort of like the new world that we live in. I think it took us all a little bit of time to adjust to like, you know, wearing a mask to the grocery store and stuff like that. And now it's just much more commonplace. So, you know, it's kind of where we are.
Right. Like it's like you said, something you have to adapt with, and obviously being on set is such an experience in itself, and then COVID and getting involved in production is really like complicating things. But I'm just really glad that you guys kind of got through it smoothly, because you know, Cobra Kai season 4 really got through it, the pandemic. And you know, props to everybody on set, yourself, John, Hayden and Josh, and everybody involved, just to facilitate and make sure that filming gets done right. And it's just amazing how you guys got that done. And then of course season 5 as well. That's been filmed. I mean, that's phenomenal to do that in in the year of a pandemic.
Yeah, 2 seasons in 1 year during a pandemic. That's insane. That's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah. So regarding the tournament, like as I said, there was so many cool changes. Love what they did. If there's a rule you could create that hasn't really been spoken about or hasn't been done yet, if you could create anything that you would like to see yourself, what would that be, if there's anything?
The committee and I have pitched, half joking, half not, have pitched a committee spinoff to the big three like a billion times. Like they're probably sick of hearing it at this point. We're like, okay, again, you want your own show? We understand. But they have mentioned stuff about spinoffs. I mean, who knows? Like I said, we're half joking and half not. But it's just because we love Cobra Kai so much and we love, being part of the Karate Kid universe. However, I do think that there is something to that, and there would be something really fun about seeing more of the current day committee in terms of, and this is me pitching our spinoff again, Josh, Hayden, and John, to see the committee current day. We know Ron's a dentist. We know George is like kind of sexist and he can't stay married. We've learned things about these folks that seeing them at current day and seeing them deal with the politics of running the tournament and the rigmarole, and there's obviously some humor to be mined there still, but then also perhaps like younger versions of us, because I think that we all were connected to the tournament in some way, shape, or form. We probably weren't any good because none of our names are up in like the annals of karate tournament history. We don't have banners hanging from the ceilings or anything, so we probably sucked. But that's why karate is still important to us, because being on that committee probably doesn't pay anything, if anything. It would be like being your kid's soccer coach or something. You're doing it for the love of. We're doing it for the love of karate. And obviously we've got some sort of history with the tournament when we were under 18. So maybe, maybe we have kids too. So just seeing those different sort of universes intertwine with each other. So yeah, Josh, Hayden, John, it's like Cobra Kai meets This Is Us meets karate. You know what I mean? Like that's gold right there.
I can see like potential for a spin-off or some sort of side story with the committee board, sort of like a Brooklyn Nine-Nine type of comedy,
right?
Like a sitcom, just the antics of what the board get up to, like just managing the tournament. I mean, obviously it comes around once a year, but what do these guys do when they're not like facilitating, everything about the tournament? It would be quite interesting to know how they all came together as well when they first joined.
Yeah, exactly. And they obviously all love like having meetings about meetings and red tape. And I remember during season 3, I looked at the lines for Ron in that little scene that I have with Ralph and Courtney in season 3 in the Miyagi-Do backyard. And the way it was written was initially a little confusing to me. And so Hayden was on set. And so I asked the script supervisor about it. And she was like, well, I don't know. Do you want to ask Hayden? He's right here. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went over and I don't remember the exact wording of the lines, but to me, it was confusing originally because it sounded like what I was saying was something to the effect of, Daniel, I'm coming to you to tell you that there's a city council meeting that you need to attend to see if you can get the tournament reinstated. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, now I'm going to go talk to the rest of the All Valley committee. And that was confusing to me because in my mind, it seemed like we had already met and I was sent as a delegate to speak to Daniel to let him know. Right. And I explained my confusion to Hayden. He was like, oh, yeah, you're right. What if you say this instead? And so we sort of rewrote the lines on the fly. And so in the actual scene, I say something about like the way the All Valley committee feels. So we are our own little All Valley committee. The way we feel about it, we think, because we already talked, that you should go to this city council meeting. Okay, now I have to go talk to the rest of the board, which is kind of funny because that means that there's like boards and other boards and divisions. And it's like this whole like governmental hierarchy of All Valley boards and committees that sort of like rank above each other. It's like a whole like political system. That's how big karate is in the Valley. So I don't know. I thought that was funny and weird, and I'm glad that Hayden went down the wormhole with me a little bit to get that figured out.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually pretty smart on your behalf as well to do that, because like you saw something and that was a good choice, and it was quite interesting, like with how much influence each member of the board, like who kind of, even though it's a board, like who kind of makes certain decisions that that's kind of not all of everybody's responsibility. I mean, obviously you're a committee, you like come together, make decisions, but like does sometimes Ron mainly take the main lead in a sense, or is it kind of one of the other guys? Like I've always been curious about that, and also like who's been in the board the longest? Like is it George because he likes the traditional way? Like I'm kind of also curious about that.
Yeah, I think that there are some facts that are rooted in the actual script from season 1. Well, no, I take that back. It wasn't in the script, but it was in like some improvisation that Keith and I did in season 1. And it's just a little thing, like, but it's a little ad lib where Daryl suggests that we change the color of the mats again, and everybody else is like, "Oh, yeah, not that," whatever. And then Daryl and I start arguing about it a little bit before Johnny enters, and that was just a little ad lib and stuff. But Keith did say something as Daryl about how like this is why you guys brought me in to like no one's attending this tournament, but you guys brought me in because I need to make this like sexier and more exciting. And my big idea is that we change the color of the mats arbitrarily to some other colors. That's going to fix everything, which, it turns out it does. So, kudos to him. But I think that in general, everyone wants the honor of being like the committee, the All Valley president. Like they want the crown, but they don't want to bear the weight of the crown. They don't, when it comes down to like the nitty gritty of it, it's easier just to like watch Ron screw up and then blame him.
It's all on you, Ron. It's all your fault.
Vote of no confidence. That's it. He's done. Wait a minute. He's lived to survive another tournament. So, we'll see how it works out the next year.
Yeah.
But I just, good Lord, I think it's only a matter of time before those lunatics usurp my power and lock me in a dungeon somewhere. It's going to happen. I do believe so.
Speaking of, I mean, with the ending of season 4, I mean, in specific regards to the All Valley, I mean, we saw this very big moment where, apart from Cobra Kai winning, Terry Silver was working behind the scenes with one of the refs. And I wanted to ask you, how do you think they would have reacted to that? Because that's obviously something the board would never want. And that completely goes against everything about this whole tournament and what it represents.
Right. I mean, I think that the board, I know there were a lot of fan suggestions that somehow the board was going to be corrupted or manipulated to let Terry Silver back in, or Kreese, or Cobra Kai, or who was banned and who wasn't, or whatever. And I just always sort of thought, I mean, having never seen a script or anything, my gut was telling me that the committee is we're like a Jedi council, like we're pure of heart. Like, so if there is going to be corruption, it's not going to be us, because I think if Terry Silver came to any of us, especially since none of us still know who the hell he is, I don't think if he came to any of us, we'd be like, look, ponytail guy, that's cute, but no. And that would be a great way to get banned from the tournament. So, the fact that he was smart enough to scoot around us and, go to the boots on the ground and corrupt that ref, that was a much wiser and craftier decision on his part, I think.
Right.
I don't think any of us would have, okay, maybe George, but the rest of us wouldn't have allowed any of that to happen.
Right. Because even when I was thinking about, the theory of like, how does Terry until like Kreese get back? Because they've been banned. And obviously, George says this, they were banned with Mike Barnes, both of them. Johnny doesn't know who they are. I can only assume that when Johnny unbanned Cobra Kai, that they kind of were maybe like kind of I don't know if they were like still under that ban or not, but obviously we don't really know.
I don't think, if you look at the bumbling antics of the All Valley Committee in general, you could imagine that some stuff like slipped through the cracks over the years, because we're all like not the brightest bulbs in the I don't think, but my guess, and it's, you know, it's based in nothing except my imagination, but I just always thought that like over the years there was some point in time where they had to take all those files and like all those hard copy files from the 80s and like put them in some sort of computer database, and Ron was probably in charge of that, and so he probably screwed it up. So you know, the fact that like Terry Silver and Mike Barnes, like nobody knows who they are, they're allowed to show up and do whatever they want. Kreese is, you know, sneering and snarling and twisting his mustache and being evil. Like we're letting it all slide because you know, we're just excited about having pop stars show up and sing songs or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just don't think we're tracking that. I mean, obviously, like even in season 1, when Johnny shows up and starts talking about Cobra Kai, and Daniel shows up and starts talking about Cobra Kai, we have no idea who Cobra Kai is. And like they won championships. Like we should know, you know, we were there, but you know, we're all like pretty, but we're not very smart. That's kind of the way it goes.
It makes sense because like it was something that happened so long ago, and they're trying to be more in the present, you know, and the amount of tournaments have happened throughout the last 30 years. I mean, they're going to be more focused on that. So that does make sense.
Yeah.
I think with the ending of season 4, I mean, you couldn't get more insane and amazing than that, right? Yeah. I know your team Miyagi-Do. So how did you feel about Daniel bringing Chosen back?
Oh, it was awesome. It was so great because like, and the thing is like Cobra Kai keeps winning and it drives me crazy, but like Cobra Kai, like I get it, you know, they're not always going to win. Maybe they always do. I don't know. But like those jerks got me again, broke my heart again. You know, I thought Sam had it this time. I was wrong. That fight was so badass. All the fights were badass this year. But yeah, Chosen coming back is great. And just like I have no idea. As a cast member, no clue. But as a fan, I'm just open like this whole can of worms for me, because I'm like, okay, well, because Johnny and Daniel, when they come together, they're like, yeah, we're going to shut down Cobra Kai. We're not just going to prevent Kreese from ever teaching again. We're going to shut down the dojo. But that was not necessarily the agreement that they had. So does this mean that Johnny and Daniel can't teach? Or does this mean that they can't teach and their dojos can't exist? Right. I mean, I think that what we're at least being led to believe is that if Chosen is back and he's got a history with Miyagi-Do too, he can just come back and be the leader of Miyagi-Do, and Daniel can just be some sort of like silent financial partner or you know, something. But he just like officially teach or coach in any capacity. However, he does say, I'm not going to honor an agreement with people that have no honor or something like that. So maybe he's just like, yeah, F it. I don't care what we said. Like I was about to murder you on a sidewalk anyway. So I'm not going to listen to you and do what I want anyway, and find a karate lawyer and sue me if you got a problem with it or something. I don't know. But
like, I think what was also interesting about him bringing Chosen is that, you know, he even said to Miyagi when he was talking to his gravestone, like, you know, even if it means going on offense. And, you know, when he first saw Chosen after so many years, he was like, is this even Miyagi-Do? And, you know, Chosen goes, defense takes on many forms. Kind of like a little tease into, you know, him being a bit more aggressive with the way he is. Because obviously he's the opposite of that. And Johnny has that aggression where he needs the stuff that Daniel has, you know. How did you like that character development, you know, especially growing up with the Karate Kid, just seeing Johnny kind of rub off to Daniel with that side that he has, and sort of Daniel, you know, rubbing off, you know, Miyagi-Do kind of stuff to Johnny.
I think it's so great, and it's just a testament to the writers and the creators in general and the actors that that Cobra Kai is able to take these characters. Some of them were very, very one-dimensional characters, especially the villains, and just make them so human and so multidimensional. To take a character like Terry Silver, and we've talked about this before. Like, I'm not the biggest Karate Kid 3 fan ever. It's fun to see Daniel and Mr. Miyagi hang out, but other than that movie. And the Julie Pierce movie too. I mean, I could say the same thing. Like, when you see Julie and Mr. Miyagi together, mwah, gold.
Yeah, that's the part.
The rest of it, trash. Michael Irons, I love him, but what is he doing in the Karate Kid? Like, it's just
it's a mess.
And Karate Kid 3 is like that too. So to take a character that's very one-dimensional and very cartoony from the source material from Karate Kid 3, and then have like this amazing actor with great writing come in and give us, the 2022 Terry Silver, like, wow, like that's a character that's well written, and a character that has an actual journey that I can track. I mean, you can watch him through season 4. I think at the beginning, like, he's really honestly telling Kreese, like, hey, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm taking my meds. I got my girlfriend. I'm eating my tofu. I got my therapist. I don't want to bring this. I don't want to drum this up. I'm trying to say goodbye to all of this stuff and be a better person. And then, Kreese just keeps poking the bear and poking the bear and poking the bear. And eventually, like, he gets hammered and almost kills Stingray. And then, the Darth Vader is, reemerges. The journey that you can track because it's written well and performed well. So, just seeing seeing characters like Terry Silver, Chosen, John Kreese, Johnny and Daniel, Ali, just everybody from the movies come in with Yuki, just with much more dimensions to them, and richer experiences, and better written characters, giving actors, like good actors, like more to work with. You know what I mean? Love it. It's one of my favorite things about the show.
Yeah, like I think we can easily agree on like just the writing being the main part of the show that's made it so successful. There's so many great dynamics to the show, but writing is exactly what sold me on the show. And I'm like, wow. And then finding out about the big 3 and just, they're Karate Kid fans. They're big nerds on it. They're very passionate about the writing. It just speaks volumes when you watch the series, and you can see that. And what they did with Silver, a very great element of the Karate Kid 3, despite obviously how it turned out, they took that and they made it something so much more. And like you said, just seeing him come back seeing him kind of, sort of rehabbed in a sense, kind of he's matured, he's changed his ways, but Kreese poking the bear, bringing that side back. I mean, that was like almost like a Palpatine Darth Vader moment,
Right.
I mean, do you feel that Kreese is like the Palpatine and Silver's like the Anakin in the sense they've gone about that relationship?
Man, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, now if we're talking about like the end of Jedi, I don't think either. It's not like one of them like became pure of heart. There might be some sort of redemption story for one or the other. I mean, I guess if they were going to go down that road, the easiest one to see at this point would be Kreese sort of finding some sort of new humanity or redemption. We see glimpses of that, I think, in the tournament, where like he tells Tori, like, hey, you know what? Like, win or lose, you did your best. I'm proud of you. Just go out there and kick some butt. And I mean, that's sort of what he meant. I mean, what he says is, I'm John Kreese, and maybe. When you see him sort of like, oh wow, he grew a tiny little piece of heart. Like, that's kind of nice. And then he gets betrayed by somebody that he trusted and like stayed in Vietnam, like, because he loves talking about that all the time.
Right.
Terry Silver, I'd go insane and send him to the police too if he like, yes, you saved me from the Viper pit. I know.
Right.
Thanks. Great. That was a long time ago. Like, what did you do lately?
I think it's really harsh. I understand. Like, I say, he saved him during Vietnam, but to constantly bash him and kind of just throw that in his face, like, no matter what, remember, you owe me. blah blah blah. It's like, Silver tried to do that in the Karate Kid 3, but it didn't work.
Right.
And then like you said, Kreese just vanished. Kreese just left him, and he comes back to his doorstep. I need your help, but remember Vietnam. You still owe me. It's like, it's kind of, as much as I like what they did with Kreese in season 3, and that, to really understand the character, I just really didn't like how he was like, yeah, putting that on Silver. It's your time to suffer kind of thing. Like, I'm bringing back the flashbacks because you knew it exactly as I did. Like, I just think that was so horrible. And the Kreese betrayal, like, I don't think anyone saw that coming until you obviously watched the series, and just by the end, the whole Stingray stuff, that's Silverback. He's planning ahead, working behind the scenes, and just how that unveiled. Wow, that was insanity. And him saying he's calling a few friends. He's got a big plan with Cobra Kai. How did you feel about that initially? Like your reaction?
I got. If I'm in an episode, I will get the script for that episode, but I don't get to read anything else. And once it's, I don't know, honestly, I don't know what the situation is for the stars, especially like, Ralph and Billy are executive producers. So I would imagine that they get to see dailies, and as it's being cut together, they get to see stuff. And then they most certainly have some sort of premiere or viewing party or something with, those folks.
Right.
Once the show's done. They get to see it. They've got money involved in it. They get to see it. Little old me does not. So I get to read whatever I get to read. If I'm in the episode, I get to read that script. And then other than that, I'm just waiting for the show to drop, just like y'all are. And I'm just geeking out like everybody else. But the committee did have a very, very short scene that we filmed for episode 10. So I did get to read that script. The scene that we shot didn't make the cut, and I totally understand why. It was another like pretty funny little thing. At first it was just a couple of lines. I think George said like, "Wow, another tournament in the books." And then I say like, "Yeah, that was great." And then we're all like, "Okay, cool. Let's go eat," or something. It was very short. And then on the day, somebody had gotten excited and they handed us a couple of new pages, and it turned into this whole like really funny scene where we talk about how the tournament went great, went off without a hitch. Great job, Ron. And then Gavin starts bitching at us because we blew the budget on Carrie Underwood. And so we all decide like on the fly to fire Gavin. And then we decide to go to get some wings or whatever. Because that's where everybody else is. It's like, let's go find the kids at Applebee's or Victory Nachos.
Yeah.
But that was like at the end of the tournament after it ended. So that there's all this dramatic stuff happening, and they're wrapping up all these major plot points with the key characters, and they're setting up cliffhangers and, just throwing us being silly in there for another 30 seconds just didn't make sense. So I understand why it didn't make the cut. It was cute. Maybe it'll show up on a DVD or something. I don't know. But I did get to read the script for episode 10. So I knew about all of the cliffhangers at the end. But still, like actually seeing it, it's one thing to like read it on the page, but then when you see it with the music and within context, like having watched all of the episodes leading up to that, like it was just, my goosebumps got goosebumps. It was sick. And like, I knew that Kreese was going to get betrayed, but still like seeing it and seeing how he responded to it was amazing. And then of course, Chosen at the end, it was just like, here we go, season 5.
Yeah. I'm so glad he came to the Valley, because ever since his reintroduction in season 3, I'm like, when Daniel says, "Oh, I wish all rivalries could end like this," Chosen's like, "What did you mean?" And I'm like, he's got to come at some point. I really hope Daniel brings him. And just the way they went about it, freaking perfect. I loved it.
Well, and it's a funny story that I can tell you. I can't. Do you remember the actor's name that plays Chosen? I can't think of his name off the top.
Yuji Okamoto.
Okay, Yuji. So I'm really good friends with Bert and Owen's moms, because Burton and Owen, at least as of season 4, were still minors. And so they have to have a parent or guardian on set with them, because they still have to do like school and all that stuff. So their moms are just always there. They're both very sweet. And they're just stuck there for like 16 hours a day with nothing to do except be there in case one of the kids like chokes or gets stung by a bee or something. I don't know. Their parents just have to be, got nothing to do. And so anytime we see each other, like I know they're down to hang because they've got free time. And if I've got free time too, then I'll chat with them and I'll adore them both. And we keep up on social media and send each other messages and stuff. And of course I love their sons too. But Nate's mom was telling me about how Yuji, is that his name? About, because she knew Yuji, she had just met him, you know, when they were doing season 3, that he flew in on a red eye to shoot that one scene. So he flew in from LA on a red eye, went straight to set. They did like 7 takes or something like that. So that probably took 20 minutes or, you know, thereabouts. He wasn't on set very long, point being, just to shoot, just to say like, hey, or whatever. And so, you know, they did that. They got his coverage and then he was straight back to the airport and went straight home. So he spent, you know, what is that? Like a 4-hour flight or something like
that. I'm not too sure, but yeah.
So yeah, he spent more time on the plane than he did in Atlanta. I'm sure moving forward, that is all going to pay off for him because you know what a treat to know that Daniel will once again have an elderly Okinawan in his life to tell him what to do.
Right, and it really feels like that Miyagi Daniel kind of connection again,
for sure.
And I love the way they've gone about that. I mean, hoping we do see Kamiko again as well, because I love that return, and also what they did with her was phenomenal. But with Chosen, he truly is the one person that could be the closest thing to Miyagi. And, you know, he's been redeemed. He understands he made mistakes. And even Miyagi himself said he made some mistakes that he regret. But Chosen's kind of coming into that sort of role, fulfilling that for even Daniel now in a sense. And it's just amazing how they've gone about that.
Yeah, for sure. And we also know that, like, we already know that Chosen is already willing to share more information than Miyagi ever did.
Right.
Which just opens all, you know, there's like, I forget who said it, but it was one of the big 3. They were in an interview recently and they were like, what are some, moving forward, what are some, you know, sort of things that you can allude to as the show moves forward? And one thing that really intrigued me that one of them said was that now we know about these, it's like learning that there was like a Jedi handbook that has all this stuff in it. And, you know, we think that Yoda burns it down in that tree, but like Rey's actually got it. And so it still exists. Now we know about all these scrolls. How many scrolls are there? What do they say? And I saw, like, it was on Twitter or something, but some fan was like, yeah, my grandfather translated this one scroll, the one that we can see already. And it says something about how, like, this is a method, but you can never use it because it will kill the user.
Is this the one Anthony picks up in season 4?
Yeah, it's because
I heard it wasn't the pressure points, and I was curious, like, yeah, what is this scroll? Like, what could that be?
It's the one scroll that we've seen, but we don't know what it says. But according to some fan, it's like some super deadly shit. So, you know, what do the other scrolls say? You know, like, I don't know. There's the tornado watermelon kick. Like, there's all sorts of stuff going down. So I'm excited to see how these scrolls come into play and like what that means. Like, that's a whole new universe of training and techniques. And, you know, step aside, crane kick. We got stuff coming on, you know. So
it's crazy because, I mean, I understand why, like, you know, Miyagi never taught Daniel the pressure points when he was younger, because that's just, you know, as he's a kid, he needs to just learn the karate that he has, and that's enough, really. You don't need to go learning these other techniques. But
he only gets what, like 2 weeks to learn enough karate to win the tournament.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know if Miyagi just had the time to be able to pepper that in either, you know?
Right. And like, what I like about Chosen is, like, Miyagi did, you know, was thinking about Daniel, you know, as the child, the kid that's learning this, not like a fully grown adult. He will become an adult, but maybe, and in some point in his life, he might have spoken to him about these things. But, you know, coming through Chosen, you know, he's really showing what Miyagi-Do is as a whole. You know, there's things Miyagi didn't tell you because he cared about you, but you know, it's a very much more deadly art. And I think that's also a shock to Daniel, because he's like, wow, that's something I never thought would be even part of the way Miyagi-Do is. But you know, he's learned all the stories, knows all these things. But yeah, Chosen's going to bring out things he probably never even knew. Yeah, how many, like you said, how many scrolls are there going to be? Like, how much are we going to learn? That new scroll is just one thing. I mean, what if Chosen brings more scrolls? He's like, hey, Daniel, I got more gifts for you. I got like 100 scrolls here.
Whole bag of stuff. Like, let's go. And then, you know, yeah, I don't know. The scrolls can get into the wrong hands. Like, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. That would be a big plot. And again, if something like Silver or his Cobras learned any of that stuff, it could be very consequential, of course. And that could be, I mean, oh my God, I can only imagine how insane it could be if one of the characters was to use that on another. It can easily go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes of, like, you know, I thought it was really cool that, like, I mean, it was messed up character-wise, but writing-wise, really neat that, like, Robbie takes all the Miyagi-Do lessons and, like, teaches them to all the Cobra Kais. And so they're all doing, like, wax on, wax off and all that stuff.
Crazy.
For evil purposes. So, you know, that same stuff could happen with, like, much higher stakes moves than, like, you know, wax on, wax off, or paint the fence, or like, here's, you know, I'm a dead arm you, and then I'm a dead leg you, and then, you know, kill you on the walk.
Oh, this is crazy. I mean, with all these scrolls as well, like, it really makes me think, just what if one of the young characters end up learning it? Could you imagine them using it? I mean, this is obviously for like someone like Daniel, fully trained all these years. Like, if it got into the hands of one of the youngsters, imagine like Anthony learns it somehow, Nate and he uses it on Kenny for bullying him. Like,
Nate and Bert find a scroll and hijinks. Like, no, man, it's just crazy stuff.
Oh my God, imagine Nate and Bert just doing even the pressure points. Imagine them doing that to a few bullies. One question to end this on: if you could play any character in this universe, I mean, of course you like playing as Ron, but if you could really like choose a specific character to you know, try and like have a way of it, who would you like to play?
I don't know. I guess I mean, you know, obviously, like, I have settled into my job on the show, and I of course love that character. So, you know, I'm not answering your question specifically if I said, like, well, I would just love Ron and the committee to just continue to have a bigger and bigger profile as the show goes on, because that would be awesome. But I guess, you know, being like, you know, my history and the way that I've grown up is rooted in the teachings of Mr. Miyagi and Miyagi-Do karate. I guess being some sort of person that got to, you know, be another teacher or leader or some sort of guider of young souls in the Miyagi-Do dojo somehow, some way, that would be pretty cool. Maybe just thinking off the top of my head, what if, like, you know, Daniel has to hire a gardener to help maintain the dojo. And so I'm just sort of there all the time, like cutting on the bonsai trees, listening, you know, polishing the big rock, and then, you know, cleaning out the fish pond, the koi, feeding the koi. And then every once in a while, like, I might have some sort of wise piece of information to pass along. That would be pretty fun. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. We'll get to, if there's any good questions based on like maybe things we never mentioned, I'll have a look. But if you guys have any quick questions for Ron, I mean, for Matt, then we will take maybe one or two, then we'll round this up. I mean, feel free, Matt, to have a look as well if you can find any good ones.
Let's see. What's a scroll? It's a piece of paper that gets rolled up. Let's see.
Which dojo would Matt join? Well, Matt's pretty much made it clear he's Team Miyagi-Do. And
For sure.
Like you said, like growing up, it was always, I'm guessing most Karate Kid fans were Miyagi-Do.
Well, yeah, and just, I know I've told the story on your show before, but just for anyone that hasn't heard it, I'll try and be brief. the Karate Kid came out in the summer of 1984. And that was the summer that my parents moved to a new state for the first time. So when Daniel LaRusso was a new kid, I was also a new kid for the first time. And we moved at the beginning of the summer, and there weren't a lot of kids in my neighborhood just right around my house. So I spent like that whole summer being like really lonely. I've made friends once school started, but didn't really run into any kids that summer. But I'd seen the Karate Kid, and I think I only saw it in the theater once because we didn't have a ton of money or anything. And this is obviously well before even like VHS was a thing that, most people had or anything like that.
Yeah.
And if you were going to rent a movie, you had to wait at least, it was usually like a year at least turnaround between when it closed in the theaters and when you could actually rent it. Usually longer than a year. Same thing with HBO. But I did have the soundtrack on vinyl. So I copied that soundtrack onto a tape, and I had this giant Walkman with a shoulder strap, and I just rode my crappy 10-speed around and listened to that soundtrack all summer. And that movie, like, really, really, like, The Karate Kid really resonated with me for many reasons and really got me through. I still have that record that I bought in 1984. And when I came back for season 3.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I had Ralph sign it for me. And it's framed in my office, hanging right by my desk. It says, "Matt, thanks for all. Wax on, Ralph Macchio."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Another funny thing is that Ralph still calls me Ron. I don't think and so, but it was funny because he's a pro and he's been doing this for decades. So, I handed him the record. I had asked permission first. I was like, "Hey, man, I brought this record in. Do you mind if when you have a free second, would you mind signing it for me?" He was like, "Ron, for you, anything." And so I brought it to him when he was like, "Hey, if you want me to sign that, like, now's the time." And so I went and got it and brought it to him. He was like, "Oh, and just checking, like, how do I spell your name again?" Like, Matt. He was like, "Oh, yeah, I knew that. Oh, I was just making sure." So, but God bless that guy for being so sweet. And and now I've got this signed record. Like, if you had asked 1984 Matt Lewis if any of this would have been a thing, like, that would have been like, "No, what are you talking about? No way." And Keith and fellow committee members, we talk about this all the time. We're just like, man, like, what a gift, what a blessing. Like, how many stars had to align for there to even be a continuation of the Karate Kid story. But then it's like it shoots in Atlanta, so we were like up for roles, and like here we are. Like, it's just
right.
So I tried not to take anything for granted, and especially being able to speak to y'all about this sort of stuff. Like, it's just, I'm just so thankful, and it's such a blessing.
Yeah, definitely, man. I really appreciate you coming on and obviously like sharing all this stuff. It's awesome because we don't know a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, and there will be moments we'll never know. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that stuff. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thankful for you having me. It's good to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, you too, man. So guys, we're going to round this off. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for tuning in. Me and Matt will be signing off unless you do see any good last question you want to take. Oh, that's a difficult question.
What is it?
I don't know if you can answer that though. Your favorite season, or is
favorite season? They're all different. I love them all, but I definitely think that in season 4, it was just like this perfect combination of the story that this is the 4th season that the story is being told. So these plot lines are developed and richer, and they've got more layers to them. And now we're at a point where we're seeing, characters that we know and love, but now we're seeing them come together in new and different combinations. Like, this is season 4, and we see Amanda and Tori come together. That's a brand new thing. That opens up like a whole new universe of storytelling, and something that we could like buy into. And, at this point, if you're a fan of the show 4 seasons in, you get the fact that it's like very well written and very well crafted and an excellent continuation of the Karate Kid films. At the same time, it's this super corny Karate Kid soap opera, 90210, One Tree Hill thing that's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. that, you know, Karate in the Valley has like such high stakes. But if you buy into it, then you buy into it, and it's super fun. So, you know, long story short, I think that the show has continued to grow. Creators have grown. The writers have grown. The crew is pretty much the same from season to season. All of us actors have grown into these roles. And so I think that every season just gets a little bit better in season 4, in my mind, especially if you pepper in the fact that the fights were so flippin' badass this year. I think so. Right now, season 4 is my favorite. But I love it's the same thing as watching Star Wars to me. Like I'll flip channels and pretend like I'm going to watch something else, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to watch Empire Strikes Back. And I'm the same way with Cobra Kai. Like it's just on, and then every once in a while I'm like, wait, that's my voice. Oh yeah, that's me. I'm on the show. That is so cool. Like, wow, let's watch that part again.
Just like, that's me.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio's right there.
Oh, I love it. Thank you again, Matt, for coming on. Always a blast having a talk with you and just this interview. Thank you so much again, and everything you've done with the show. It's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to season 5, just like everybody else. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I know that we've both mentioned that it's wrapped. It's in the can. It's fun. As far as filming goes, they've still got a lot of post-production stuff that they have to do. This is just my guess. I really have no official idea. But my guess is that they went ahead and jammed through on season 5 because at least Sholo is going to be busy with Blue Beetle. And that's going to tie him up for a while because it's like a big, high-profile superhero movie. Right. So he tied up with that for like a year between filming and then like the press junkets he's going to have to do and all that stuff. And I don't know where they're filming it, but if they're not filming it in Atlanta, even if they did, it would just be logistically a huge nightmare. So I think that they rocked out season 5 because of that. And probably some of the other kids are getting famous too and picking up stuff. Peyton, definitely already big. So she's always got stuff going on, but the other kids too, like, I think several of them have big things going on, but then also like, as they continue to move forward, like these kids just like keep getting older. Like in the world of the show, it's only been a year. So whenever we come back, word comes from somebody. I don't know if it's the big 3 or the director or whatever, but we'll be in here in makeup and then they will get word, like a text or something like, oh yeah, because they'll send them pictures to approve before we go to set. And they'll be like, oh yeah, you got to color in the gray a little bit because they've got gray and it's only been a year. And Keith and I are like, have you looked at these kids? Like, what are you doing? Like, the gray in my beard is not so, look at Anthony, like shrink him down back to, I don't know. Like we all sort of get that it hasn't really been a year, but they still like, will put shit in our beard to, make it in the world of the show a little bit.
I mean, with season 5 again, I'm really hoping it. They'll release that. Hopefully as soon as they can in 2022. Yeah. If it goes to December again, it's definitely possible. A lot of people might, feel like we get something summer. I guess it's kind of like, with, like you said, just trying to make sure they're not looking too much older from, Cobra Kai season 1 because they're growing up quickly and all this. So that's definitely important. They keep that consistent. And I'm sure they will. Yeah. But once again, Matt, thank you for coming on. Been super cool to talk to you about season 4 and geek out about all of Cobra Kai Karate Kid. Again, we'll definitely have you back in the future, of course, for Ron. Hopefully to see him again. And yeah, we're signing off. Is there anything you want to say to everybody before we end this?
Yeah, sometimes you got to take the bad stuff in your life and you got to take the good stuff in your life. Find balance. So find that balance today. Peace be with you. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Good to see y'all. Take care. Happy New Year.
Peace, everybody.